What's going on, Jets fans? DTereman here with a quick video. Hope everyone is having a great weekend. On Friday, I put out a video of 3 underrated offensive players for the Jets in 2025. So I'm going to follow up and do 3 players on the defensive side of the ball that I believe are underrated heading into 2025. The first one on the list, and this one may seem like, Dill, he's a starter. Why do you think he's underrated? But the first one I have is Cisco, the new safety addition from the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I understand he's expected to play a large role, but to me, I think 2024 was a bit of a statistic outlier from him. And even on the film, it seemed like he wasn't playing his best ball. So if he can get back to his 2022, 2023 form, I think that would be the best. In 2022 and 2023, he combined for 7 interceptions and 6 passes defensed. In 2024, he did have 6 pass breakups, but just one lone interception. So his ball production did take a big dip in 2024. He had a 12.0, then 15.1 yards per catch average in 22 and 23. And then in 2024, it ballooned all the way up to 19.5. And I understand he's the last line of defense, the third level defender, so that yards per reception is going to be scary big at times. But when you're almost allowing 20 yards per catch, that is a detrimental number to the back end of your defense. And the passer rating allowed in 22-23, it was 84.2 and then 83.9 respectively. And then it ballooned up again in 2024 to 125.7. So nearly, a 40-point spike in that area, which is just absolutely not good. Like I said, back end of the defense, last line of the defense. If it's between Cisco and a touchdown, I was betting on Cisco in 2022 and 2023 to make the play. Not so much in 24. Can Aaron Glenn and Dre Bly and Steve Wilks get their hands on him and round him back into the form that he was at 2 seasons ago and 3 seasons ago? Still a young player. He was drafted in 2021, so still a lot of career left for him. And if he ends up having his breakout season with the Jets, I don't see why he couldn't have Pro Bowl potential. The second guy on my list was a guy who played much of an elevated role last year because of the injury to Jermaine Johnson and just the lack of production at the edge position overall, and that's Will McDonald. And I don't want to say this as a negative to Will McDonald, but I do think it would benefit him if he was the heavy rotational third edge as opposed to your edge setter on first and second downs playing across from Jermaine or Michael Clemens on 1st and 10, 2nd and 8. I don't think that's necessarily his game right now. Obviously, the weight contributes to that. He's still in the low 240s in terms of his weight. So if he was up in the 260 range, maybe that conversation would be different. But I do think he needs to be the rotational edge who can come alive for you in the second half. I know Michael Clemens is not a great player, and a lot of people, including myself, want him off the roster, but if him and Tyler Barron can hold down the fort on the run downs, and then Will McDonald can come in and give his pass rush juice that got him 61 pressures and 10.5 sacks last season, I do think that would be more conducive for his success. He had 756 total snaps on defense last season. 276 of those came against the run. So if you can get that number closer to 200 flat or even under 200, and you have 500 plus reps where he's playing with his ears pinned back in almost obvious passing situations, again, it's just going to be much more conducive to his success on the defense. So still keep his 65% snap count alignment, but just adjust the splits a little bit and have him less against the run. The third guy I have is a pretty much a complete unknown. We didn't see too much from him, and he might be one of my first current Jet breakdowns that I do in the film room just to get a glimpse of what he can do for this defense, and that's Leonard Taylor III. And I picked him because they didn't do much at the position to add to the room where you can clearly see a path for those guys to make it over Leonard Taylor. They obviously added Byron Cowart from the Bears and Jay Tufele from the Bengals in free agency, but those were relatively, practically vet minimum deals, essentially. So they didn't invest in free agency. They go into the draft. Everybody's banging the table for a third, fourth, fifth round, even a sixth round defensive tackle. We still don't get it. We get to UDFA period, and they sign Peyton Page from Clemson and Fatorma Malba from West Virginia. Again, those aren't guys that have a clear path to make it over LT3. So, in my opinion, I think the fact that they didn't invest shows that they want to give Derek Nottie, their other free agent addition from Kansas City, and LT3 the best, chance to make the 53-man roster as that DT2, maybe even DT3 behind Quinnen Williams, because right now that room is a little barren, so we need to get somebody in there with some good production. Whether it's run production, we still need pass rush juice, holding down the one technique from Quinnen Williams. He can't do it all by himself with 4 to 6 offensive line hands on him every single play. So Leonard Taylor played 261 total snaps last year, 1.5 sacks, 4 tackles for loss, and 1 pass batted down. That was a 27.5% defensive snap rate. So if you can get that up to maybe 35-40% playing, that's quite a bigger role in my opinion. You're probably playing close to 25 to 30 snaps a game at this point, where he was usually averaging about 18 to 22 snaps last season. If you can get that number up to 28 to 32 snaps per game, I think that would be right where Leonard Taylor fits in. So those are my 3 underrated Jets on defense for the 2025 season: Andre Cisco, Will McDonald, and Leonard Taylor III. Let me know in the comments below somebody who you think might be underrated for the Jets defense, and I look forward to talking ball with everybody soon. Let's go Jets.